So let's talk to two people who maybe got very wet sitting in the grandstand behind us, and that is James Wright. He's a young farmer, and Ellie Burnage, charity organiser, who were invited to sit over there. What a position you had today.
It was pretty fantastic.
Yeah. You saw all the marching bands and the household guard.
And the horses and the dog, so it's marvellous.
Did you get wet?
Absolutely so. But being a farmer, you are used to getting wet.
Of course.
So.
Of course.
I was watching you all from earlier this morning, and because you got there quite early this morning, quite a long time even before the first procession started. Yeah. So I could see how you were going to suffer through the whole morning of rain. But you got rewarded because the carriage went literally right in front of the stands. I imagine you could see inside and see the King and Queen.
Yeah, we could. It was absolutely lovely, wasn't it?
Yeah, they were almost at eye level, so it was an incredible experience to be able to see that.
And for Prince Charles, I'm going to say that again. Plenty of times. Yeah. For King Charles, farming is something he's always been interested in. Yeah. Rural life, part of the environment, the way people farm, the way we get our food is something that's been important to him. Do you think that's why you were chosen for special position?
King Charles has been a pioneer of farming for his entire life, whether it's organic farming at his estate in Highgrove, or when he became in charge of the Duchy of Cornwall, he looked after his tenant farmers, and most recently with the Prince's Countryside Fund. So farming is in his blood, and he's a champion of the rural communities, and for that we are very grateful.
And Ellie, why were you invited?
So I work for the Prince's Countryside Fund, which is His Majesty's farming and rural charity. We were set up after the foot and mouth crisis and became a charity in 2010, and we've invested over £11 million in farming and rural communities today and supported 2,500 family farms. So we really work to promote His Majesty's vision of sustainable rural communities, and particularly helping young farmers and family farmers like James here.
Do you, I presume that you meet him in the course of your work, it's often easier, I often think when I come across the royal family, when I'm covering things for the BBC, it's difficult to know what people will engage with, but I think on this issue, it's probably quite easy to engage with him, isn't it?
He's very interesting, he's very knowledgeable. So even last month we were up in Malton in North Yorkshire with him, meeting some young farmers and farmers who've been through our Farm Resilience programme, and he knows so much about it. He's really passionate, and particularly the changes that farmers are having to make to sort of provide environmental benefits now. He's been talking about that for absolutely decades.
Have you met him, James?
I have not had the pleasure, but hopefully at some point it'd be great to have him down on the farm.
But it is what you hear about, that when he talks to farmers, he knows his onions.
Yeah, no, he does. I mean, he has literally been a farmer in his own right, and only recently gave up the tenancy on his own farm, so yeah.
Farming's changed so much in the UK, and it's not easy for farmers. I have a lot of farmers in my family, and I know that it's hard. Sometimes they say they just seem to have farmed subsidies half the time, and then they get hit by foot and mouth. They have a ton of problems that they deal with. Do you think having a champion like King Charles can actually make a material difference to the lives of farmers? Does it really change anything?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, from very young age, King Charles has been a champion of farmers, and that you can see that policy has evolved around the things that he brought forward, particularly on his home farm in Gloucestershire, and things developed there are now used across the farming industry. And I'm sure as King...
Can you give us an example?
Well, I mean, the way the organic dairy standard was largely developed, in partnership at home farm. I'm not a dairy farmer, but I know that what goes on in the organic world is, it's been driven by the people that King Charles brought together.
But of course, they're big landowners, the royal family,
yes,
and they have a lot of tenant farmers. Is it easier being a tenant farmer in a cost of living crisis, or do you mix with the same farmers who have the same issues as any other?
I think that farmers across the entire industry are facing similar issues. It's not obviously the same on every single farm, but I mean, input prices got by over 30% in the last year, and that's not being passed on sort of through the supply chain, so the increase is seeing in the supermarket. So we've seen, I think it's a 70% increase in calls for help to farming help charities this year. The demand for our farming programmes has gone absolutely through the roof, and so we're really, I suppose, happy that we exist to be able to support the farming community.
James, just one last thing. We should get back to the coronation. Your favourite bit?
I mean, it's got to be the bagpipes and the dog. I mean, that was brilliant. I'm disappointed there weren't any cows. I know how much the royal family love their livestock. Shame not to see more.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're a bit unruly cows, though. The horses were on their best behaviour.
I'm trying to imagine a whole herd of cows, but maybe. It could have been a nice rural touch.
There was a team of street sweepers that came through very quickly after the horses because everybody was going to be walking through this. But if we'd have had the cows, it might have taken a bit longer, maybe.
James and Ellie, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
That was...
Let's speak to Alan Rusbridger, who is the editor